Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'll be talking about some of the basic stuffs that you must absolutely know as a fresh aspirant before you begin your NPSC exam preparation. This video is titled Decoding NPSC, How to Begin Preparation as a Fresh Aspirant. So if you're a fresh aspirant and watching this video, I would strongly encourage you to stick till the end and watch the whole video. A little introduction about myself. Firstly, my name is Mohapusu. I was very blessed to have cracked NPSC in 2018, and I'm currently serving as a commercial tax officer under Department of Stat Taxes, currently posted in Dimapur. I've also had the privilege of mentoring a good number of aspirants over the past 6 years, and I'm also an honorary mentor at Aspire Academy. A quick disclaimer before I begin my presentation. I am not at all claiming to be an NPSC guru, nor am I claiming to know everything about the NPSC exam. I've simply made this video to share some of the lessons and insights that I gathered from the experience I had while preparing for this exam, in the hope that this video will help some of you out there. This will be the contents that I'll be covering in this video. Why civil services, less than 1% make it, the ruthless odds of NPSC success, laying the groundwork, understanding NPSC, key skills and habits, debunking some NPSC myths. So without further ado, let's begin with the presentation. Why civil services? Before you even begin studying for this exam, in fact, before you even ask the question of which books to buy and what books to study, in my opinion, the most important question that you must ask yourself firstly is why civil services? Or in other words, why do you want to become a civil servant? This is a question that I want each one of you to ask yourself and give an honest answer to, even before you begin preparing for this exam. If your answer to the question of why civil services is any of these, if it's because of the prestige associated with the services, if it's because of money, if it's because of fame or status associated with the services, if it's because of peer pressure, meaning simply because your family has forced you to write this exam against your will, or simply because your friends are also preparing for this exam, or is it because of tradition? What do I mean by tradition? In Nagaland, there is this famous meme that goes something like, it is a tradition in Nagaland to sit for the NPSC exam at least once after you graduate. So if you have decided to sit for this exam simply because you're a graduate and simply because you want to just give this exam a try, then I would like to tell you that the civil services is not really the right career choice for you. If your reason or motive to join the civil services is primarily because of any of these 5 mentioned reasons here, and the reason why I say that the services is not really the right career choice for you is because you lack the required passion to prepare for this exam as well as to become a civil servant. Now, since you lack the passion, the sincere passion to become a civil servant, you also will not have the required determination to put in the amount of effort and hard work required to crack this exam, since you lack a sincere passion for the services. You will also not last long in this preparation journey. I must tell you that cracking this exam in the first attempt itself is not impossible, but quite rare. Even for the brainiest of students, it usually takes at least 2 to 3 attempts to crack the exam. And for most of us, it takes sometimes 5, 6, 7, up to even 10 years to crack this exam. Now, if you lack the passion, the sincere passion to become a civil servant, you will not last long in this preparation journey. You will simply give up after 2 or 3 years. I have had friends who also prepared for the exam simply because of peer pressure, simply because I was preparing it, and simply because their family forced them to. After 3 or 4 years, they gave up preparing for this exam altogether. They wasted 3-4 years preparing for this exam, although they were not passionate about it. They wasted 3-4 years of their prime years. 3-4 years that they could have invested in honing or developing a skill or developing a career. And therefore, if your motive to join the civil services is not at the right place, is not for the right reasons, then I'm afraid the services is not really for you. I would rather encourage you to look for a career that best aligns with your interest and passion. However, if your motive to join the civil services, if your motive to become a civil servant is simply because you want to work for the common good of the society, if this is your passion, if your motive to join the civil services is because you want to contribute to the progress of the society, then I must say, if your reasons and motives to join the services is because you want to contribute to the progress of the society and simply because you want to work for the common good of the society, particularly for the downtrodden sections of our society, then I must say that the civil services is the right career choice for you. I must say you are passionate enough to work hard and become a good civil servant. Coming to the next topic. Less than 1% make it. Now that you have decided to passionately pursue your goal of becoming a civil servant, there are certain figures and statistics that I want you to be very mindful of. And that is the fact that less than 1% actually cracks the exam. The figures that I've highlighted here are not exaggerated figures, nor are these figures manufactured by me. These are actual figures. About 16,000 candidates sits for the NPSC exam every year, just for a small number of posts, a meager number of posts. Out of these 16,000 candidates, 99.5%, a staggering 99.5% fails to make it, meaning less than 1%, which is only 0.5% candidates actually cracks the exam. Now, if we are to translate this in absolute figures, this roughly comes to one candidate in 180 out of 180 candidates actually makes it to the final merit list. This staggering figure and statistics here highlights the cutthroat competition that is prevalent in the NPSC civil services exam. This is the reality of the cutthroat competition that is prevalent in the NPSC exam. And therefore, if you have decided to put your heart and soul into realizing your ambition of becoming a civil servant, I want you to be mindful of this fact, that there is a cutthroat competition out there, and if at all you are keen on cracking this exam and becoming a civil servant, you must work really hard and put in a lot of effort to crack this exam. Just because less than 1%, just because only 0.5% candidates actually cracks the exam, doesn't mean this exam is impossible to crack. If you put in the right amount of work, you will also definitely crack this exam. But you must put in the required amount of hard work and effort to crack this exam. That's something that I want you to know before you begin preparing for this exam, that you must absolutely work hard. Now, let's go to the next topic, which is laying the groundwork, understanding NPSC. Before you sit down and start studying Laxmikant's polity, spectrums, modern history, you must first develop an understanding of what the NPSC exam is all about. You must first understand the demand of the NPSC exam. You must first understand the nature and pattern of the NPSC exam, because only then will you be able to know how to study and what to study and what not to study. So how do you develop an understanding of the NPSC exam? You develop an understanding of the NPSC exam by studying the syllabus prescribed for the NPSC exam. By going through the syllabus, you will develop an understanding of the topics and subjects prescribed for the various stages of the NPSC exam. you must also go through the previous year's question papers of both prelims and mains. And the reason why I'm asking you to study the previous year's question papers of both prelims and mains is because by doing this, you will develop a healthy sense of understanding of the nature of questions that is being asked in the NPSC exam. By going through the previous year's question papers, you'll be able to understand which subjects and topics NPSC emphasizes majorly on, both in the prelims exam and the main stage of the exam. You will also develop an understanding of the nature of the questions that are being asked. Meaning, by studying the PYQs, you will understand whether the questions asked in the exam are majorly factual in nature, conceptual in nature, or current affairs oriented. And by identifying the nature of the questions asked in the exam, you'll be able to align your preparation accordingly. Meaning, if you find that the questions asked in the exam are majorly conceptual and current affairs oriented, you will also align your preparation accordingly. That is how you can keep your preparation on the right track. And therefore, my advice to you is, before you even begin studying Lakshmikan and any other static subjects, I want you to go through the syllabus as well as the previous year's question papers to develop an understanding of the NPSC exam. You can find the syllabus and the PYQ questions in the NPSC website. You can browse to the NPSC website and simply download the syllabus and the previous year's question papers from there. Now, if you have difficulty in downloading the syllabus in a PYQ's question from the NPSC website, you may mail your problems to me. You may mail your query to me, and I'll have the question paper and the syllabus mailed to you. I'll mention my email ID later on in the video. Next, key skills and habits. There are certain key skills and certain habits that you must inculcate and develop if at all you want to crack the NPSC exam. The first skill that you must develop is writing skill. This is a skill that you must absolutely develop if at all you're planning on doing well in the mains stage of the exam. A candidate may have memorized the entire static subjects and the entire syllabus and topics prescribed for the exam, but if that candidate lacks a decent level of writing skill, I'm afraid that candidate will not do that well in the main stage of the exam. And therefore, it is absolutely necessary to develop a good writing skill. Now, how do you go about developing your writing skill? There is this resource that I have personally used myself to develop my writing skill. And if you're interested, you may kindly send a mail to me, and I'll have the link shared to you. The second skill that you must possess and keep in mind is conceptual learning. If you go through the previous year's question papers, particularly of the recent 4 to 5 years, you will notice that there has been a shift in pattern and nature of the questions that is being asked in the NPSC exam these days, both in the prelims and mains phase. Gone are the days where the questions are factual in nature. Currently, NPSC is starting to ask questions which are conceptual in nature, and therefore, my advice to anyone watching this video is, when you are studying for the NPSC exam, please do not go about simply trying to memorize facts and figures, because that is not really going to help you. Alongside trying to remember facts and figures, I want you to also put a lot of emphasis on conceptually understanding the topics that you are studying. Thirdly, you must also inculcate the habit of newspaper reading or current affairs reading. If you go through the previous year's question papers, particularly of the mains exam, and particularly of general studies paper 2 of the mains exam, you will notice that the questions asked in this paper are no longer static or factual in nature. Rather, the questions asked in paper 2 of the mains phase of the exam are current affairs oriented. Be it questions on polity, be it questions on environment, social issues, economy, you will notice that the questions asked in paper 2 are no longer static or factual but current affairs oriented. So, in order for a candidate to do well in the mains exam, it is absolutely necessary that that candidate possesses a good understanding of the current affairs and issues happening in Nagaland, in India, and around the world as well. And therefore, the third habit and skill that you must inculcate and develop is the habit of newspaper reading or current affairs reading. These three skills that I've mentioned here are absolutely necessary if at all you're keen on cracking this exam. I've had many people that I know who failed to get through the mains exam, although they worked really hard, simply because they lack these three skills. And therefore, my advice to anyone watching this is kindly develop these three habits and skills. Like I said, I have a good resource that I personally used myself to develop my writing skill. So if you're interested in getting this resource, kindly mail me. I'll leave my email at the end of the video. The last topic, which is debunking some NPSC myths. Now, there are certain myths revolving around the NPSC exam that goes about in Nagaland. And during my initial preparation days as a fresh aspirant, I also encountered some of these myths. And truth be told, I was greatly discouraged by some of these myths as well. However, with time and experience, what I've gradually discovered is most of these myths are simply lies. And I would like to take some time to debunk some of these common myths about the NPSC exam. The first myth is one needs to study 10 to 15 hours every day in order to crack this exam. In my experience, and from the experience of many of my friends who has cracked the exam by the grace of God, I must say that studying 4 to 5 hours every day is more than sufficient to crack this exam. It's more than sufficient to complete the syllabus as well as do well in this exam, provided you're doing this every day and consistently. Besides, it is humanly impossible to productively study 15 hours every day. The second myth that I would like to debunk, and this is in fact the most common myth revolving around the NPSC exam, that you need political connections to crack the exam. I also encountered this myth and I was greatly discouraged by it. But what I have found is merit is certainly recognized in the NPSC exam. And I am a personal testimony of the fact that merit is recognized. I am someone who has no political connections. My parents are simple folks, they have no political connections. However, by virtue of my merit and my performance in the exam, I was able to crack the exam in 2018. So you need not worry about having or not having any political connections to crack this exam, as long as you have done well in the exam. The third myth is a serious aspirant doesn't use smartphones. Now, this is the most common advice given by Naga elders to us, that you should not use the smartphone or the internet or the social media during the preparation days if you want to crack the exam. I would rather say that if you know how to use your smartphone and the internet wisely and judiciously, this will not be a stumbling block. Rather, it will greatly aid and enhance your preparation as well. And from my personal experience, I'm someone who could not take any coaching, and I took a lot of help from my smartphone and the internet to enhance my preparation as well. And therefore, as long as you know how to use your smartphone and the internet wisely, there is no harm in using it. There is no harm in using your smartphone or the internet or the social media, as long as you know how to use them judiciously and wisely. The last myth that I would like to debunk is a serious aspirant doesn't socialize. You must have met friends or certain elders who isolated themselves within the four walls of their room during their preparation days. I've also had friends who did that. Now, I would like to strongly encourage you not to do this, not to isolate yourself, not to cut off your social ties and isolate yourself in your room during your preparation days. Rather, I would encourage you to continue your social relationship, continue meeting your friends during your preparation days as well, as long as you as long as you are prioritizing your study schedule, as long as you are prioritizing your study, there is no harm in socializing. And the reason why I do not want you to isolate yourself in your room during your preparation days is because it is not healthy. In fact, it will have an impact on your mental health as well. You will gradually develop issues such as anxiety, and that will really be a stumbling block in your preparation. So kindly do not isolate yourself. You can continue socializing as long as you are prioritizing your study and your studies routine. There is no harm in doing that. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. If any one of you watching this video has any questions or queries regarding the NPSC exam, or if you need certain clarification from the presentation that I've done, you can always email me your query, your confusion, and your queries. This is my email ID. You can mail me your query or your questions. moapusu77@gmail.com. This is my email ID. You can mail me your queries and your questions, and I assure you that I'll definitely get back to you with the answers. So thank you all. Thank you for watching this video. Take care and all the best.